So, van life is simple, but it's not easy. This is something I find myself saying a lot lately as I explain this to people. I have conversations with people who are new to van life or who are interested in maybe in getting into the nomadic lifestyle, usually in a van or something, sometimes RV or whatever. But that's just something a phrase that I find myself repeating a lot. And Deborah's mentioned it to several other people. I use this phrase, so I thought I'd talk about it a little bit today and what I mean by it, kind of unpack it a little bit. So, I'm talking about the nomadic lifestyle when you're doing it as a vehicle dweller, or when you're traveling by vehicle, as opposed to let's say the jet setting crowd, or you're traveling place to place on public transportation, staying in Airbnbs or hotels. So there's different ways to be a nomad, but as you're talking about primarily the vehicle traveling, vehicle dwelling movement, that's kind of what I'm referencing here. As there's a continuum with that goes from, on its simplest form, you might be traveling by bicycle and staying in tents and hostels and occasionally hotels, whatever. And on the other end of the spectrum, you're up in a big, luxurious Class A or motorhome coach. So you got this whole spectrum of ways you can do that. And within that spectrum, on the one end, if you go down to your bicycle traveling and you're traveling around the country by bike, that's going to be about the simplest form of vehicle type travel you can do. It's also going to be the hardest form. On the other end of the spectrum, you get into the really fancy high-end motor coaches. That's going to give you the most ease, but it also has the least simplicity. It's the most complex of the vehicle dwelling options. So right in the middle, roughly speaking, is van dwelling and van life, okay? And so vans, they're still pretty simple. A van life is a pretty simple life, but it's still not easy. So some examples of what I mean by that is not easy. Let's take just basic hygiene, things you do every day, right? I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty here. That's covered in other channels plenty. It's not easy. Or take cooking. That's a pretty basic thing that people do. It takes a lot more thought and preparation and planning and time to cook a decent meal in a van or in a campsite than it does in a house. And I see this every time I bounce back and forth. If I stay with a friend or relative or do some house sitting for a short time, which I occasionally do, or stay in a hotel room, and it's just like, oh my gosh, everything's so easy comparatively. But it's not as simple. And you especially see that if you're doing it long term, and you have to start, if you got to pay for the rent and the utilities, or if you own the place, how to pay for the mortgage and insurance and taxes and maintenance and all those things. So there's this simplicity versus ease balance. And so you see it with personal hygiene, you see it with cooking, you see it with something like washing dishes, that just being able to turn the faucet on and have running water is an amazing luxury if you're used to living in a van or something. Doing laundry, if you got a house, you probably have a washer and dryer, you can just do your laundry, you don't have to think about it. Only takes a short time to throw it in and then change it over. Whereas when you're in a van, you're hand washing, or you're drive into town over Forest Service or BLM roads, try and find a laundromat that's open. You got to plan it around when it's not going to be too busy. And we've been on a roll lately. We talked in a video on
Meander just recently about the trouble we've been finding laundromats that haven't gone out of business. It's been crazy. The last places we've stopped to try and find a laundromat, they've been out of business, including places that like Deborah had been before, and they were there last year and they're just gone out of business. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. Well, laundromat's going out of business, but it's a real challenge. When you're living in a van, if you can't find someone to do laundry. So, again, it's simple, but not easy. Everything takes more work. Of course, along this way and along this continuum, you can improve your ease by increasing complexity. You can do that by buying fancier vehicles. You can do that by modifying your own rig. So, for example, it's a pain to wash up or do dishes because you don't have running water. Well, you can put in water tanks and a water pump and plumbing, but then you've added complexity. It's no longer as simple as it was. You now have more things to think about, more things to maintain, but you've maybe increased the ease of your experience. So there's that continuum. You can't make it easier without increasing complexity for the most part. So I don't have any magic answers for anybody, but the bottom line is that van life, the nomadic life, if you're doing it in a vehicle, is simpler than traditional sticks and bricks living, but it is definitely harder without the modern conveniences that we've all become accustomed to using and enjoying. And you can be simpler and a little less comfortable, or you can be more complex and a little more comfortable. That's, you know, we all have that choice of where we want to fall in that. But I did just want to point out that, yeah, you know, it is a simple life, but that simplicity comes with the challenge of it being harder. And I don't think any of us who are talking about this stuff on YouTube or on websites or whatever else are doing anybody any favors if we don't tell the truth about that. So I still think it can be a good life for many people. I say this all the time. It can be a good life for many people, but it's definitely not for everyone. So that's one of those things where this comes up, is that if you're comfortable making that trade-off between it being simpler but not as easy. So I hope that provides everyone some food for thought. You know, if you're doing this already, you know, maybe leave a comment and share your experience with that. And if you're thinking about doing it, you know, maybe leave a comment and tell me what you think about this whole idea. And if you think you're willing to trade off that ease for simplicity. Meanwhile, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this video. You know, please consider subscribing and hitting that little ring the bell if you are not subscribed already. Maybe you liked the video if you enjoyed it. And thanks for joining me for this video. We will see you in the next one.